Your Excellency, the Right Honorable Speaker, House of Representatives, Yakubu Dogara, the leadership of the Senate, leadership of the House of Representatives, my distinguished colleagues of the Senate and members of the House of Representatives, management of the National Assembly, and members of the press corps. Let me on behalf of the National Assembly welcome you from the members of the press corps and thank you for honoring our invitation. It is a matter of record that yesterday, lawmakers and staff of the National Assembly were prevented from entering the National Assembly complex by hooded and masked and heavily armed security agents of the Department of State Services, DSS. All entries to the complex were blocked as early as 6:30 a.m. The National Assembly, the seat of democracy in Nigeria, was under lockdown. Senators and members of the House of Representatives were prevented from gaining access. The ensuing standoff was a show of shame that played itself over several hours in full view of the country. In no circumstances should this have happened. And we as a nation reap this bitter fruit instantaneously, as evident in media images relayed around the world, images that shame us as a democratic nation. The siege was also an act of cowardice by those seeking to carry out an illegal impeachment of leaders of the Senate in flagrant disregard of the law. People who seek to control at all costs by whatever means, never minding the injury to the democratic norms. I have to say that this is not about me, Baka Bukola Saraki, as an individual. This is not about Ike Ikirimaju. And of course, this is not about Yakubu Dogara. I'm speaking for my colleagues when I say this is about the soul of this great country, Nigeria, we all love. What we represent as a country, as a people, and our standing in the community of nations. This is a country where so much is expected of us. So many rugs of the ladder that we are supposed to have ascended as a nation. Instead, we are swallowing in impunity an illegal show of force, of all which retard our progress. This is most disheartening. I don't get any joy in saying, I said so, I don't. However, some of you may recall a few years ago, about 2 years ago, I stated that there was a government within this government to a purpose that was not in the interest of what the people voted for. I said it then, and now nearly on a daily basis, we are seeing the manifestation of that government within a government. It beats our imagination how this is being allowed to occur. Only recently, we also saw what happened in Benue State, where 8 members out of a 30-member assembly, with the collaboration of security agents, police and DSS, tried to impeach a governor. It beats one's imagination how the head of a security agency could have authorized the brazen assault on the legislation that we saw yesterday. Despite the threat of our lives, we shall continue to fight impunity and injustice in this country. Happily, by the actions that Nigerians took yesterday, they demonstrated a strong resolve as a nation not to give ground to oppression. The legislation, more than any institution in this country, more than any other arm of government, represent the will of the people. We're elected by the people, and an assault on legislature is an assault on the people of Nigeria. The forcible shutdown of the legislature was an unconscionable assault on a national institution, and thanks to all your efforts, the aggressors have been put to shame. The resistance mounted by the staff, our staff of the National Assembly, my colleagues in both chambers, and the civil society, who refused to leave the entrance of this complex until siege was broken, strengthens my faith and that of the Honorable Speaker in the people of this country. The rain fell and the sun rose, but Nigerians stood their ground in defense of democracy. With the strength of will demonstrated by everyone against unwarranted and unconstitutional militaristic might, the siege could not stand. By this, we have shown that Nigerians can resist governments within government in whatever guise, and this is humbling for me in particular. Those who sought to defend the attack on this leadership for their selfish reason further affirmed my belief in this country. They attempted to execute an illegal impeachment of the leadership of the Senate without the backing of the law, but they faltered. I am confident that together we shall always defeat acts of unconstitutionality. The rule of law shall always prevail. I want to thank from the bottom of my heart and on behalf of the Speaker and all of us, Nigerians, our colleagues, senators, members of the House of Representatives, our very loyal and dedicated National Assembly staff for standing up to be counted for democracy during yesterday's siege. I thank the thousands who monitor the situation on the radio, television, and social media, voicing their outrage at the siege, thereby sending a clear message to those that hatched this plot that the Nigerian public will not buy this act of gangsterism using instruments of state such as the TSS. I also thank the international community, particularly the European Union that visited the complex, the international press for their prompt reactions to the invasion of the National Assembly, civil society and social cultural groups for being emphatic in their statements during the crisis. I very much appreciate their vigilance and of course the statements also by governors of states. Among the many that come up for special mention, I believe that Honorable Boma Goodhead. I don't want to embarrass you, please stand up. A member of the House of Representatives stands out. She looked at a masked security operative in the eye and dared him to shoot her. She let it be known that Nigerians will not stand for the barricade at the National Assembly. She will not be coerced by any of the activity. This is a pointer to what is possible in this country when women take their leadership. I applaud all who kicked against this atrocity and who stood firm until sanity prevailed. I am proud of how everyone conducted themselves in what no doubt was a tense standoff. The principled stance and defiant reactions to this ugly incident proved crucial to the failure of the plot. This is what we have been saying about the power of the people. The role of the people in defending democracy is paramount. I must thank also the acting president, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, for his handling of the situation we were all confronted with yesterday. His decisive action went a long way, restoring confidence and the image of our country. It sent a powerful message that the State Department, State Security Services cannot be recklessly deployed against institutions of our democracy. The path of leadership is not by party, and we must commend where it needs to be commended and where we find it necessary. The acting president did the right thing. However, the damage control so far does not address of how this happened in the first place. This is an incident concerning which we've had on good authority had been in the planning for months. How is it such an atrocity was not prevented? How is it that the masterminds were not deterred? Very, very serious questions remain unanswered, and only a full investigation will give us answers to this. We call for an investigation, and we demand that all perpetrators are brought to book. We owe it to ourselves to ensure that such a situation never occurs again in this country. Many agencies have abused their powers and acted outside the ambit of the law on occasion. Where abuses occur, similar actions must be taken immediately and full investigation instituted. I must say that when we fought for change, we could not have envisaged a scenario such as unfolded yesterday. An atmosphere where people cannot tolerate dissent or mere differences of opinion as to the future of our dear country. This is not the change we fought for. We did not fight for instruments of state to be used to oppress Nigerians and the lawmakers. I know that I certainly did not fight just so that legislators could be undermined and subject to this onslaught. There are so many lessons to be drawn from the ugly incident we all witnessed yesterday. For one, government must ensure that security agents remain neutral and act in line with the position of the Constitution as well as the enabled laws. Head of agencies should be accountable, and those who step out of line must be held responsible for their actions. Enough with impunity. Enough with reckless and senseless deployment of militaristic force. Enough. In this dark cloud, we can see the silver lining. And that silver lining is the commitment of Nigerians to defending their hard-won democracy. I am more than encouraged by the strength, the determination, and the resolve of ordinary Nigerians to see that the democracy survives and thrives in this country. I'm also strengthened by the determination of the media to report and analyze the truth as they see it. I want to reassure Nigerians that on our part, we will remain committed to working for a country governed by the rule of law. Our desire is to have a society where there will be equity and justice, not oppression. We stand committed in doing our utmost as lawmakers to ensure that the responsibility and functionality of government are met. Although we are on annual break, we are daily reviewing issues that need our attention. Unfortunately, yesterday, shutdown prevented us from meeting with INEC to review their request. We will continue to look into this matter, and in the spirit of ensuring that we do all that is necessary to see that we have a successful and smooth election, we will take whatever necessary action that is required for us to put this forward. If it means us coming back to address that, we will do whatever it is necessary. We will play our role to ensure that. In that spirit too, I would like to appeal to Mr. President to sign the new 2018 Electoral Act Amendment Bill, which we passed, which was based on his recommendations and his request. We have passed it and we have sent it to him for his assent. My colleagues, I remain confident that with your support, we will focus on the job at hand. We will continue to serve our Nigerian people. My confidence is unshaken. I remain committed to the success of the 8th National Assembly and the continued progress of our country. In closing, let me reiterate that neither myself, the Deputy Senate President, the Honorable Speaker, the leadership here, belong to the class of politicians that is desperate to stay in power by all means and at all costs. The day 2/3 of our members do not have confidence in any of us, we will leave this place. I repeat again and again, this is not about us. This is about respecting our Constitution, and this is about the rule of law, and this is about the Nigeria that we all wish, and with us together, we will build together. I thank you. God bless all of you. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. That will speak of His Excellency the President of the Senate of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, who is also the Chairman of the National Assembly. The same thing to Dr. Abubakar Kekalata. Next is questions. You may indicate by raising up your hand and the permission of His Excellency.
Yeah, right.
Approach us. I'll be where you are.